You've been lied to your whole life. Worse, you've been lying to yourself too. Right now, somewhere in the world, someone is living your dream. They're getting the respect you beg for. They're walking into rooms where you shrink. They're building the empire you keep imagining while you scroll through their success at 2 a.m., whispering, "Why not me?" I used to ask that question every single night. I saw people half as smart as me get double the chances. I worked harder, but somehow they kept winning. I kept wondering why the world didn't see my worth until I realized something brutal. The game isn't rigged. I just never learned the real rules. While I was being taught to be polite, others were learning how power actually works. While I was trying to be liked, they were studying influence. While I was apologizing for existing, they were building unshakable confidence. And here's the truth that no one wants to say out loud. You're not stuck because you're not good enough. You're stuck because you're still asking permission from people who will never give it. You're still waiting for validation you already earned. You're still playing by rules written by people who needed you to stay small. But what if you stopped asking? What if you stopped waiting? What if you stopped being the victim of other people's opinions and became the architect of your own rise? Because that's exactly what this video is about. Over the next few minutes, I'll share with you 7 psychological power moves. Real principles that separate people who get what they want from people who take what they're given. This isn't theory. This isn't feel-good talk. This is strategies, power psychology used by the people who always seem to win. By the end, you won't just think differently. You'll move differently. You'll speak differently. You'll exist differently in every room you enter. So before we start, drop this affirmation in the comments. I'm not asking anymore. I'm choosing, say it like you mean it, because after today, asking permission will feel like betraying yourself. Let's start with the first law. Law number 1, your mouth is your enemy. I learned this lesson at 23, sitting in a room full of millionaires. I was nervous, desperate to prove I belonged there. So I kept talking, explaining, joking, trying too hard. I thought being part of the conversation meant being loud. I thought value meant volume. I was painfully wrong. The most powerful man in that room barely said 10 words, but every time he spoke, the room froze. When he asked a question, people leaned forward. When he went silent, others got nervous and started revealing too much. That's when it hit me. Your mouth is your enemy. Every extra word you speak gives someone information they can use against you. Every explanation you offer is a weakness you advertise. Every time you fill an awkward silence, you tell the room their comfort matters more than your power. Silence scares people. It makes them wonder what you're thinking, and that's power. When you stop talking, they start projecting. They imagine you're smarter, stronger, more strategic than you might even be. Your silence becomes a mirror that reflects their insecurities. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Your silence lets them imagine your depth. And the moment they start guessing, you've already won. I started practicing this immediately. Instead of trying to sound smart, I watched others expose themselves. Instead of chasing attention, I learned to control rhythm by deciding when my words were worth the room's attention. The result was instant. People began asking for my opinion instead of me fighting to give it. They started seeking my approval instead of me begging for theirs. They started wondering what I was thinking, because I stopped thinking out loud. Silence isn't the absence of power. It's the proof of power. The one who can stay calm while others rush to fill the space controls the room. They don't need to shout to lead. They don't need to explain to influence. They don't need noise to command attention. Remember this: silence isn't empty. It's full of control. Let me tell you something that changed my life forever. 2 years ago, someone I trusted completely destroyed me. Not physically, not financially, but emotionally. They took everything I had ever shared in confidence, my fears, my pain, my secrets, and turned it into a public joke. They used my truth as entertainment. I sat there, frozen, listening to laughter built from my humiliation. That moment burned like fire in my chest. I wanted to scream, to explain, to fight back. I wanted to defend myself, to make them understand how wrong they were, but something inside me said, "Don't." And that moment of silence taught me one of the most powerful lessons of my life. Your feelings are not facts. Feelings are chemical reactions, temporary, explosive, emotional data. They are information, not identity. They can guide you, but they should never control you. That day, while my world felt like it was falling apart, I realized I could either react or I could learn. While they were losing control, I was discovering mine. Here's what emotional power actually looks like. When someone provokes you, you don't react. You observe. When someone betrays you, you don't collapse. You take notes. When someone tries to manipulate your emotions, you don't give them the satisfaction. You give them the silence they can't stand. Emotional control isn't about being cold. It's about being calm. It's about knowing that the moment you lose control, you give someone else the remote to your life. People think power comes from dominance or loudness. It doesn't. Real power is being calm while everyone else loses their mind. Real power is when your silence makes other people feel small for trying to shake you. Machiavelli once said, "It is safer to be feared than loved." But this isn't about fear, it's about respect. People don't respect those they can emotionally control. They respect the ones who cannot be moved, even when the world is trying to pull them apart. When you master your emotions, something magical happens. People start coming to you for advice, not gossip. They start trusting you in chaos because you're the only one who doesn't drown in feelings. They start seeing you as leadership material. Here's the part most people never understand. When you control your reactions, you start seeing other people's emotions as data, not damage. When someone gets angry at you for setting a boundary, that's not proof you're wrong. That's proof the boundary was necessary. When someone guilts you for chasing your dream, that's not proof you're selfish. That's proof your success makes them uncomfortable. The next time someone tries to emotionally trap you, remember this. You don't owe anyone a reaction. Silence is a response. Calm is a weapon. And emotional control is the ultimate flex. Once you master this, no one, and I mean no one, can ever control you again. You'll be the storm they can't move, the calm they can't shake. You'll stop reacting and start observing. And from that moment on, you'll stop being played because you'll finally understand the game. Listen carefully, because this one will separate the players from the pawns. If you understand this, your entire life changes. Power doesn't come from strength. It doesn't even come from money. Real power comes from information. Who controls it? Who shares it? And who stays quiet? Most people talk too much. They think honesty means telling everyone everything. They think being real means oversharing their plans, their pain, their dreams. But here's the truth. Every word you speak gives the world a blueprint to control you. When people know your fears, they'll use them. When people know your goals, they'll block them. When people know your next move, they'll move faster than you. That's why you must control information like your life depends on it. Because it actually does. I learned this the hard way. When I started chasing my dream, I told everyone what I was building. I thought they'd support me, but most of them didn't clap and they competed. They didn't encourage me. They copied me. And the moment I fell, they didn't help. They laughed. That's when I realized people can't destroy what they don't know. You lose power every time you let the wrong person get a glimpse of your next step. And you gain it back every time you keep your silence sacred. Powerful people play a different game. They don't announce moves, they announce results. They don't explain plans, they execute them. They don't talk for attention, they talk for advantage. Every empire you've ever admired was built on strategic silence. Look at history, politics, business.
The most dangerous people were never the loudest. They were the ones smiling quietly, while others revealed their whole playbook. Let me give you a secret. When people can't read you, they fear you. And fear is a currency. Mystery builds influence faster than talent ever will. Stop telling people your every thought. Stop announcing every win before it's real. Stop explaining your dreams to people who don't even believe in theirs. Instead, learn to move in silence. Let your work speak. Let your results surprise. Let your consistency expose what your words use to explain. When you talk less, you observe more. You begin to see who's truly with you and who's watching for weakness. You start noticing how people react when you succeed. You begin reading intentions instead of excuses. Remember this forever. Information is leverage. The less they know, the more they'll wonder. And the more they wonder, the more you control the room. Every time you open your mouth, ask yourself, am I giving power or gaining it? Most people trade their power for attention. The wise trade silence for control. From now on, don't move louder, move smarter, talk less, watch more, control the flow, because whoever controls information controls outcomes. That's not manipulation, that's survival. And in this world, survival is power.
You want people to value you, then stop chasing them. Every time you beg for attention, you teach the world to ignore you. Every time you explain your worth, you teach them to doubt it. Every time you try to prove you belong, you tell them you don't. Listen carefully. People respect distance, not desperation. I learned this the painful way. I used to overtext people who never replied. I used to stay in rooms where I wasn't respected just to feel included. I used to explain myself to people who had already decided not to understand me, and every time I did, I lost a little more self-respect. Until one day I asked myself, what if I just stopped trying? So I did. I stopped chasing, stopped explaining, stopped begging for the bare minimum. I chose distance over desperation, and my life changed overnight. People who once ignored me started reaching out. The same ones who never had time for me suddenly missed our talks. Why? Because when you stop giving unlimited access, you become valuable again. Here's the truth no one wants to admit. Humans crave what they can't fully have. They chase mystery, not availability. They desire confidence, not desperation. The moment you stop running toward people, they start running toward you. Machiavelli said, men are driven by two things, love or fear. But in modern life, it's respect. And respect doesn't come from being nice all the time. It comes from boundaries. Distance is not rejection, it's protection. It protects your peace, your focus, and your energy. Because not everyone deserves front row access to your life. You teach people how to treat you by what you tolerate. If you keep accepting disrespect, it becomes your normal. If you keep chasing, they'll keep running. But if you step back, you change the entire power dynamic. Distance creates clarity. It reveals who's real and who's only there when it's convenient. The ones who truly care will respect your space. The rest will fade on their own. Let me make this practical. Stop replying instantly to everyone. Stop explaining your silence. Stop apologizing for needing peace. If they get offended, good. They were never comfortable with your boundaries. Desperation smells like weakness. Distance smells like confidence. One repels power, the other attracts it. The people you admire, the ones everyone wants to be around, they're not available all the time. They're selective. They understand that time and attention are currency. They don't give discounts. So from today, raise your value. Detach a little. Be less predictable. Let them miss your silence, not your explanations, because the moment you stop begging for presence, you start commanding respect. And when people respect you, they treat you differently. They listen when you speak. They wait for your approval. They stop taking you for granted. You don't lose people by giving distance. You lose the wrong ones, and that's how you make room for the right ones. Never forget this. Desperation chases, distance attracts. If you want to look powerful, here's the rule. Stop complaining, stop explaining. The weak always complain. The strong always adjust. Complaining is emotional leakage. It tells people you've lost control. Explaining is insecurity. It tells them you're desperate to be understood. And when you do both, you give away your power. I learned this lesson the hard way. There was a time I would over-explain Every decision I made, why I didn't text back, why I said no, why I changed my plans. I thought I was being respectful, but what I was really doing was teaching people to question me. Then one day, a mentor said something that burned into my mind forever. Powerful people don't explain, they decide. Think about it. When a CEO makes a move, they don't call a meeting to justify it to everyone. When a king makes a decree, he doesn't write an essay explaining why. Power doesn't seek permission, it acts and lets results speak. The more you explain, the more you sound unsure. The more you complain, the more you sound powerless. Every time you say, I just feel like, or I hope you understand, you chip away at your authority. And the truth is, most people don't want to understand you. They want to judge you. So stop giving them more data to use against you. When people don't get a reaction from you, they start creating stories. And those stories often make you look stronger than you are. Let them wonder. Mystery builds power faster than any speech ever could. Machiavelli once said, the more you are seen and heard, the more common you become. That's why silence is strategy. That's why calmness is charisma. That's why explaining less makes your presence heavier. Here's the truth. Powerful people let the world misunderstand them because they don't need approval to stay grounded. They know who they are. They know why they do what they do, and they don't need to justify that to anyone. Next time someone tries to provoke you, do this. Say nothing. Smile, walk away. Next time someone says, you've changed, don't argue. Just say yes, because growth always offends the stagnant. When someone asks you, well, why are you so quiet these days? Say, Pam, because peace is expensive and I can finally afford it. You'll notice something magical. The less you complain, the more you focus. The less you explain, the more confident you feel. And suddenly people start taking you seriously. It's not because you shout louder, but because you speak less. Remember this forever. Brain excuses are for approval. Silence is for power. If something's unfair, fix it. Don't complain about it. If someone misunderstands you, let them. Their version of you isn't your responsibility. And if the world doubts you, let your results end the argument. So from today, cut the noise, move in peace, speak with purpose, and never forget, the loudest one in the room is rarely the one in control. Never complain, never explain, just execute. Power dies the moment people can predict you. Read that again. When people know what you'll say, how you'll react, or what you'll do next, you've already lost control. Predictability is weakness. Uncertainty is power. The strongest people you've ever met, they keep everyone guessing. No one knows exactly what they're thinking, what they're planning, or where they'll strike next. And that's what makes them dangerous, in the best way. Look at the world's greatest leaders, creators, strategists. They all have one thing in common. They never move in a straight line. They're calm, then fierce. Available, then gone. Simple, then mysterious again. Because when people can't predict you, they can't prepare for you. And when they can't prepare, you control the tempo. I learned this lesson early in life. Back then, I was too open, too honest, too readable. Everyone knew when I was happy, when I was sad, when I was angry. They could push the right buttons and get the reaction they wanted. I thought I was being real, but what I was really being was predictable. So I decided to change. I started moving differently. I spoke less, smiled more. I stopped explaining how I felt. I became a mystery. At first, people got uncomfortable. They said, "You've changed." They were right. I stopped being easy to read. And you know what happened? Respect. Suddenly people treated me carefully. They started thinking before speaking to me. They watched their tone, their words, their energy. Because when you become unpredictable, people step carefully. Machiavelli said, "A wise ruler never reveals his full intentions." He was right. The moment people think they have you figured out, they stop respecting your presence. But when you're unpredictable, they stay alert. And alert minds give respect. So here's how you keep them guessing. 1. Don't show every emotion. Let them wonder what you're thinking. Not everyone deserves your inner world. 2. Don't post every move. Let results appear without warning. Surprise is a weapon. 3. Change your rhythm. If you always reply instantly, wait. If you always say yes, say no sometimes. Let people realize you can't be managed. 4. Speak in layers. Give enough to keep curiosity alive, never enough to kill it. Remember, mystery creates respect. Predictability kills it. Even in relationships, even in business, even in friendship, mystery keeps energy alive. When people can't fully read you, they invest energy trying to understand you. That energy is attention, and attention is power. The secret to long-term influence isn't control, it's confusion. Make them unsure whether you're calm or calculating. Make them wonder whether you're done or just getting started. Make them guess what you'll do next. And they'll always treat you carefully. So from now on, don't be an open book. Be a locked diary with a few visible pages. Let them think they know you, but never let them actually know you, because once they stop guessing, they stop respecting. And once they stop respecting, they stop listening. So keep them curious, keep them off balance, keep them guessing, and you'll always stay in control. Here's a truth no one wants to admit. Power isn't always real. It's often performed. Every room you walk into is a stage, and every person in it is acting. Some act confident, some act humble, some act powerful, until they actually become powerful. Because here's the secret, the world doesn't respond to who you are, it responds to who you appear to be. I learned this when I was broke, tired, and invisible. I had the ideas, I had the drive, but no one took me seriously. People only saw me as that nice guy trying his best. Then one day, a mentor said something that hit me like lightning. If you want to be treated like power, you have to look, move, and speak like power. And I realized confidence isn't something you wait for, it's something you project, even when you don't feel ready, even when you're scared. Because if you act weak, people treat you like you're weak. But if you act powerful, they adjust. Every time you walk into a room, your body speaks before your mouth does. Your energy enters first. Your posture announces your value. Your tone tells people how to treat you. So start performing power till it becomes natural. Stand tall, speak slow, hold eye contact, don't rush your words, don't overlaugh, don't over-explain. When you pause, let the silence do the heavy lifting. When you move, move with purpose, like every step is calculated. Because people don't remember what you say, they remember how you made them feel. And nothing feels more powerful than presence. Let me tell you something most people never realize. Actors don't just perform on camera. Everyone performs in life. The only difference is some people know they're performing, others don't. You perform confidence before you feel it. You perform discipline before it becomes habit. You perform calmness until chaos can't touch you. And suddenly the performance becomes reality. You become the energy you act like. That's why powerful people rehearse their silence, their tone, their timing. They plan their image. They understand that emotion without control is weakness, but emotion performed strategically is influence. Think of it like this. Every time you speak, you're casting a spell. Your tone, your words, your timing, all of it creates energy. If you sound desperate, they hear need. If you sound calm, they hear confidence. If you sound certain, they follow. So next time you walk into a room, don't think, I hope they like me. Think, I am the storm they didn't see coming. Straighten your back, slow your breathing, speak less, but when you do, make every word feel like a decision, not a sentence. Remember, power isn't about being the loudest. It's about being the one everyone else adjusts to. And the easiest way to do that is through performance. Pretend until it's no longer pretending. Walk like you own the place, even if you're still earning the right to. Because confidence is contagious. And when people feel your certainty, they start believing in you, even before you do. So from today forward, remember this rule. Power is not given. It's performed until it's undeniable. You're the actor. The stage is life. The script is silence, control, and presence. Now, play your role until the role becomes you.